2020. So it's June 3rd. And I will start with a little congratulations because our unit, this is so funny, y'all. Okay, you can see all this if you go to rewards and then recognition central. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I have not figured out how it all works getting most improved because we've been on there before this year, but there's certain months that I feel like, oh, we should be on there, and when we're not on there, and so I don't know if it looks at cumulative or if it's looking at just the month compared to last May. I honestly don't know, but for us to be number 11 in the whole state of Texas, that is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Tanya's
So-
group was 12, I think.
Yes, and
We
I
came ahead
saw
of her.
she posted on Facebook, and I thought, I need to look at that because they just put it out there, and you can look and see. So I also went to look at the units, that the top 100 units in the Ruby division, which everybody that's at least in the top 100 units has already hit 300,000. So we're not in the top 100 at this moment because we haven't hit 300,000, but y'all did amazing last month. And so we are going to hit it this month easily. Like we only are short like 7,200 from that. And so we'll definitely hit that. So we're going to hit 300,000. It's just, we're not there yet. And so I looked at that today. So we're not in the top 100, but I looked to see who was there, so it's always interesting. I try to go look at that because we're not going to get applause magazines going forward, because a lot of times we would look at that in the applause magazine, though the most recent ones to me are so delayed with the recognition. I've just been going to Recognition Central anyway, but
Why are they stopping applause? Because they're going to make it all online, so they don't need to mail it?
Yeah, so there will
Okay.
still be an applause magazine, but it'll only be online, and there will not, the last one we got is the last one we're going to get paper copy.
Okay.
So I think it's the whole saving the trees. So anyway, I used to love the applause magazine. I read it cover to cover. I'm not as good at doing it online, but I'm going to try to create a better habit of that. So anyway, but I mean, it's a big deal that we were number 11. I don't even know for sure what all goes into it, but it just means y'all are doing really good. So, because, depending on what state you're in, Texas has a lot of Mary Kay sales directors. There's certain states, I've looked at other states, and I'm like, man, if I lived in South Dakota, it's like there's not as many sales directors, in certain states. And so Texas is a big state. And so for us to hit something, and it's only because I live in Texas, but it's, all of us collectively. So good job. It's exciting. So I may just try to I may ask Tanya if she knows more details about how that actually works, just so we kind of know. Because I really honestly don't know, because there's months I thought we should have hit it and we didn't. And I thought, well, I don't know what they're looking at, So I'll try to find out more details about it. Anyway, okay, so we do have a lot to cover, so I'll get moving here. So we have, this is not surprising, this is their words of wisdom on people management. When I meet someone, I imagine her wearing an invisible sign that says, "Make me feel important. The value of this is one of the most important lessons in dealing with people I have ever learned." So we know that. It's good. Sometimes I have to remind myself well, I won't get into the story, but I hardly ever get upset. I don't get angry with people. I'm not usually, but the people that run we have a storage unit, and the people that run that don't do the greatest job in their accounting. And twice they have accused me of mailing my check late or not paying them. And I have shown them where they deposited the check and what day it deposited and all of that. And so the last time I showed it to her, I felt like I came across maybe not as nice as I should have. And I thought, that's really stupid of me, because I am a Mary Kay person and she's not my customer. I should still make her feel important, even though they are in error. I could say that nicer. So I hardly ever get angry with people, but I almost was at the point when they did it again. and told me, well, you don't have to pay your late fee. And I said, of course I don't have to pay my late fee because you deposited my check on this day. But we need to be nice. And she was, she was trying. And once I showed her nicely that she had deposited the check, but when we're out in the world like that, it is important to represent Mary Kay and to be, you never know who's going to show up around your table or be your customer, and you don't want them going, oh my gosh, that was the lady that was so rude to me. So, it is important to make people feel important. So that was a good thing for me to think that day when that happened, for sure. All right, let's say a quick prayer and get going so we can get through all this stuff. I have lots of stuff to tell y'all. So, all right. Lord, we just thank you so much for all these ladies here and all of the ladies that are in our unit that represent the Ocean's Bright Stars. And we just thank you for the blessings that you've given us in the recognition. And Lord, we just ask that you be with us tonight. Just help me to speak clearly, help this to be helpful to everyone that's on, and just bring the people back maybe that couldn't be on tonight. We just pray that they'll come back and join us. And we pray that our other new ladies that we have will feel comfortable to come to meetings and be with us. And Lord, we just thank you for all that you've given us. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Okay. Did anyone go to their MK News today? Okay.
Nope.
I am going to just go ahead and share a video because it is on your MK News, and I think it's helpful for you to hear it from the company versus just me explaining it. So I'm going to share this video with y'all. Okay, let me get there. Let me get to the home screen. I feel like sometimes it's hard to remember to go look at Mary Kay News because you have to scroll down here, though I guess it's up here. I never look there. And maybe that's where we should look, but I want y'all to see this because we are going to have changes in September to all the Chroma Fusion eyeshadows and blushes. And there's some colors that are going to be phased out that they're not going to replace. But I want you to hear the message from Dr. Gilday because she explains all of it.
As you know, we are in the business of providing an enriching opportunity for women around the world. And having the right product portfolio that is carefully curated with products that are easy to learn, easy to sell, and easy to earn is an important part of this opportunity. My team remains committed to and passionate about the importance of products and the role they play in your business. Joining the ranks of other amazing regular line products in our portfolio, we've had some exciting launches recently, like Clinical Solutions Dynamic Wrinkle Limiter, the Mary Kay Sunscreen SPF 50, and everyone's new favorite mascara, the Great Heights Mascara. And there's a lot more to look forward to this year. You've also seen some changes take place this year, like the phase out of the Cream to Powder Foundation and 3-in-1 Cleansing Bar. As you've heard me share before, there are many factors we consider when making these decisions. Certainly, one factor is declining sales globally. However, I think it would be helpful to share some insight into the many factors we must consider. As you know, most of our products are global, meaning the same Mary Kay products are sold in different countries around the world. And while the impact of enriching women's lives is large, it's not feasible to have a lot of products specific to one region due to the level of complexity that it brings. So, we must simplify and streamline our product portfolio with global efficiencies in mind. There are many benefits to this. One being that it allows us to focus on the products that we can be the best at and work hardest for you. Now, that means we can't and we won't be everything to everyone. And honestly, it's not possible to be a one-stop shop. In fact, consumer purchasing trends have changed, and people are no longer purchasing all their beauty products or even all their consumer products from a single place. What we can do is focus on the value that an independent beauty consultant brings and a smaller yet robust portfolio of products that have clear benefit lanes and are differentiated from other brands. Now, to help put this into perspective, globally, we offer 1,600 individual products. Think about this, 1,600. This is not a manageable number in the long term. And for each one of these products, we analyze sales and performance, the product life cycle, manufacturing costs, industry trends, consumer costs, regulatory requirements, supply chain complexity and constraints. All of these elements impact not only our costs, but also the cost for you and your customers. Our aim is to minimize passing down these costs to you. And a significant part of my team's work is dedicated to ensuring the right value proposition so that we can continue offering products that enrich lives while maintaining quality and affordability. Now that brings me to product life cycle. A new product is always exciting, right? We love it. Sales start off high, but as time goes by, sales start to normalize, something else new and exciting launches. So the sales of the first item will dip, and it can continue to dip as other new items launch. And so basically what happens are these products start to compete with each other. So your purchasing decisions, both the products you buy most frequently and those that you purchase repeatedly, help us understand your preferences and what you're able to sell successfully. So to keep the product portfolio fresh and in line with consumer expectations, which do change over time, we have to let go of some of those underperforming items to make room for more innovative products that keep customers coming back for more. Now, not only underperformance, but all those other maintenance factors that I mentioned earlier are the things that we have to look at. The 3-in-1 cleansing bar is a great example of a product life cycle that ran its course and was impacted by other complexities I mentioned earlier. Cost, supply, strategic fit, you name it, more than I can even get into in this video. Now the next update you'll see is coming in the fall in the color category. My team is working on a plan to help us be more nimble and faster when it comes to our color products. In other words, we're thinking about what needs to be in our core line on a regular basis and how we can bring in new and fresh items from time to time. We're excited to share that beginning September 2025, Mary Kay Chroma Fusion Eyeshadow and Blush will feature a new, modernized formula. This formula will continue to offer the same rich pigmentation and smooth application that you and your customers have come to expect from our Chroma Fusion line. Many of the shades that you're familiar with will remain in the lineup. However, as part of this improvement, select Chroma Fusion eye and cheek color shades will be phased out to refine our product line and focus on shades that best complement each other and our top-selling shades globally. The way I like to think of it is that the core color line we're keeping is what any makeup artist would need and could use consistently anywhere in the world. While some shades will no longer be available, you can expect to see some pops of color through limited edition products to supplement the category. Plus, this will allow us to bring in some fun different product forms and finishes for limited edition. The transition of the color category is a long-term strategy, and this will be done in phases over several years. So, I ask for your patience. This product portfolio refinement and streamlining will be a multi-year journey. It's complex, and there are a lot of moving parts. There may be some bumpiness or even missteps along the way, but I promise you, we will do our part to make any transitions as smooth as possible. And even when the refinement is complete, that doesn't mean there won't be changes. A product portfolio is not meant to be static and unchanging. A product portfolio is and should be dynamic. It evolves and changes so that it continues to keep up with what customers want to purchase so that you can continue to be successful. Thank you for your continued support and understanding as we work to provide you with the best product portfolio that sets you up for continued success.
Thank you to Dr. Lucy Gilday for those important and helpful insights. I hope that she provided some more clarity into how she and her team come to decisions about the products that are phasing out and decisions about new products to add to the portfolio.
And in regards to the ChromaFusion shade phaseouts that Dr. Lucy mentioned, you can refer to the list included in the News Desk article accompanying this video. That way you have an easily accessible reference. Now related to product, but pivoting slightly, this leads us to an update you'll notice to the product area at company events beginning at Seminar in Charlotte this year. You'll see that the staff who would normally be dedicated to the product feedback booth will now be incorporated into the other product booths. The intention is to make it more convenient for you, since you'll already be there learning about the new products. So you'll still have an opportunity to speak with staff, have product discussions, and get your questions answered, but it won't be at a separate booth. Additionally, we are working on an eco-friendlier solution for collecting your feedback to replace the physical card. More to come on that as we get closer to the event.
Having an open line of communication between the company and you, our independent sales force, is critical to our overall success, and we want you to be heard. For these discussions to be the most productive, we want to provide some insight on the type of feedback that is actionable versus what is not. At events, for example, when you fill out a card at the product feedback booth to request to bring back a discontinued item. In the past, on occasion, this could lead to a potential bring back of an old favorite. However, with the global focus on a more streamlined product portfolio, as you just heard Dr. Lucy speak about, those types of requests aren't feasible for her team to implement.
So then what type of feedback are we looking for? Well, we are looking for innovative product ideas. A product that maybe you feel like that product form is missing from our portfolio. Or are there products that your customers are asking for that could be a realistic fit with both our brand and our expertise? And of course, if you're having any product challenges, we want to hear about that too.
To echo Dr. Lucy's words, you have a team of dedicated and passionate staff here working hard to ensure your future success. We're excited for what the future holds, and we look forward to continued collaboration as we grow together, overcome challenges, and celebrate every milestone along the way. Thank you for being an essential part of this journey.
Okay, these are the colors of eyeshadow and blush that will phase out. So my understanding from that video is that we'll have the current colors we have, but there'll be a new formula of ChromaFusion, but these colors will not stay in the line at all. So I can post a picture of these too. I mean, you can take a picture if you want, but I can post a picture of these just so you know which ones they are. And you'll notice they're mostly colors like blues, greens, purples, grays. Is kind of what I'm like gathering in, like onyx, you know, the black eyeshadow. So anyway, I wanted y'all to know about that. And so I thought you guys were supposed to get this video like today, but I mean, I'm sharing it with y'all just so you guys kind of know, so you're not stocking up on eyeshadows and blushes that you're not gonna, you need to like think about selling out of what you have, before September when they come out with the new formula. And they very well could have some of the new formula available for us to look at in seminar for those of us that are going. So, but I thought it would be good for you to hear from her. And then did you notice they're like saying, we're not bringing back old stuff. Like we are, and you can ask for it, but we're not going to, so you might as well not ask. So I feel like it's kind of a different process, thinking through what, they're going to do going forward. So I wanted to share that with you guys. Do you have any questions about any of that? Okay. There is another product change that is happening in September, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all because I think it's a big deal. And I didn't know anything about this till I got my director memo. So they are going to change up our retinol. So, we have retinol 0.5 now. They're going to change it to retinol 0.3, and they said we'll launch this fall. So I'm assuming that's also in September. And the retinol, so that you can use it, it can be used every day, and they don't have to go through a retinization process. I think that a lot of people don't like to go through the retinization process. And I have to say, I don't have that many people on retinol because they don't want to do that, or they're not good at it. And so I kind of see why they're doing this. Now I have no idea, but the effectiveness, but difference, but they said, you can do this every day. You don't have to use any kind of facial milk with it. And it says the shelf life on this is 3 years. And I have to say, that's been one of my challenges with the current retinol, is like, I can't keep any of it on my shelf because it gets old so fast. So, this may mean that we can sell more of it if it's easier to use initially. And if you're using it daily, maybe it can be as effective as the other. I'm not sure. But they also will have this at seminar for those of us that are going, so we can look at it. So the regular 0.5 set and the Restore Facial Milk will go away in September when they launch this. So I wanted to just go ahead and tell you guys all of that. They're supposed to be telling you about the eyeshadows and blush really soon. I don't know that they were really going to share this yet, but they said the product will be featured at seminar. So those people that are going to seminar are going to see it. So I thought I would tell you that too, just so that you kind of know too, for, if you have someone that already wants to be on retinol, I'd go ahead and put them on our current retinol, and then we can always switch them over to the other, whenever they, and all of our customers that are currently on retinol can switch over. So, okay, I wanted y'all to know about all of that. Any questions, thoughts?
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay.
So I love the Common Restore Facial Milk. Are we
Yeah.
going to be able to buy that separately? They're not phasing that out.
They're phasing it out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So if you want that, I would.
Yeah.
I think, I think that what I'll do is, when my customers, I will tell all my customers that use it, which I wish I had more people on it, but my people don't stick with it, or they don't go through their 8 weeks very well. And so I thought, well, maybe that's a general consensus. And so, I think consultants do, because we understand the value of it. But I think as people reorder it, and as it comes out, I will make sure I tell all of my customers. But if they wanted to buy a new set in August, I might tell them the option, but if they want to wait, but I would probably just keep them on what they're on until, and I'm going to keep selling the value of retinol until then. And so if I get more people on it and they go through the retinization process, they should be able to seamlessly use the new one with no problem. So that's what I'm thinking. Do you guys have other thoughts?
Well, just
go ahead.
I just want to say, since I use the facial milk outside of the retinization. I like it as its own product, a lighter weight, hydration product. And I got some customers that are enjoying it just that way, the ability to apply it over makeup during the day if they want. So of course I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stock up on some.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they do have it listed.
Yeah.
Yes. And Jody asked, will you promote the fact that they can apply it daily with the 0.3 instead of staggered? And I will promote that, because I feel like that's been a hindrance with the people that I've tried to get on retinol is, and for me personally, I've struggled using the 0.5. I definitely had to have the facial milk to use it. And so I haven't been great with it because it really dries me out. And so I'm hoping that, that the 0.3, my skin will be able to handle. And Jody also said, Dawn, that oil-free gel, the oil-free hydrating gel, the purple in the jar, is also really good to put over makeup too. So that might be a thought. That might be a thought for those customers that you have that are using the facial milk in that way. Yeah, and that's true. They will. But I feel like, do you feel like that what she's saying is hold on, we're going to have more changes. They're streamlining our product line. So I feel like I'm going to have a better, I feel like I'm just going to have a better attitude about it. And, she says in there, we're not going to be all things for all people. And so I thought, okay, so I just need to focus on the products that we have that I can definitely, continue to get people, using regularly, and I'm just gonna have to go with it. So, and I get the fact that, I've been in Mary Kay for 26 years, so I have a really big inventory, and I've built it over time and everything. But if you think about how many products we have in our product line, that is a little more overwhelming for new consultants to be able to carry all the things that we have. So, and I think, so Jody says we are in for a lot of changes. I think they're gonna do it a little at a time, they're doing this in the fall, and but she said that the color thing was gonna be a couple of years project. So I just think we are gonna have some more changes. But as I know about them, I will tell you guys as early as I know about them. I'm not keeping anything from you till the last minute, and that way, if you need to make ordering decisions or whatever, you can. There are a few of those colors that that's going away that I feel like the desert rose blush is. I have several people on that, and there's not another color that's quite like that. Maybe wineberry, but that's more pink. So I'm gonna have to figure that out too. And I feel like that. There's like a new change every month, they're just kind of slowly, but I feel like I wanted you to hear all that from her so that you guys kind of see where they're coming from and why they're doing it. And so maybe that helps a little bit, but.
Yeah, for sure. The fact that we were given reasons why is definitely helpful. And so, given that I feel like there's going to be potential downsizing on the color product side, does it mean, Mary Kay wants to make sure we are back to like a lot of skincare, that's our bread and butter, or more mainly skincare products?
And I think we're still going to have color. I think what she said was like we're going to have these pops of color, like greens and purples and blues that they're taking out of the line. We're going to have those come up in limited edition items. We're going to have pops of color in limited edition, and not maybe something, because even if you use Starry Night, it's got a lot of pigment, and so it takes a long time to use that up. And if you think about them carrying all those colors, whereas you've got like biscotti or moonstone or whatever, people use those up frequently. So I think it's a matter too of, it's a matter too of just not keeping just everything, and not having consultants have to have such a large inventory either. So, and it sounds to me too, did you guys hear this globally? Everything's globally, which I know they don't have all the same products in all the same countries, but it does seem like they're kind of trying to make it more the same. That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, I kind of got that, I guess, sense that, because right now, just through some other consultants I know that are from Mexico, the Mexico product lineup is quite different than ours in the color area.
I know. So I guess we'll see. We'll just see what happens. But as I know things, I'll let you know. And then you can, make decisions about however you want. And I do know, and I will tell you, one of the things I'm going to share not next week. Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Next week, we do not have a regular meeting at 6 because it's only our Zoom event at 7:30. So we won't meet at 6. We'll just try to get customers on for 7:30. Some of us that are involved in the stuff have to be on earlier anyway. And then your customers can get their name in the product drawing for one of these new lip oils if they hop on between 7:20 and 7:29. And then we'll start right at 7:30. We go to 8 with the products that we're going to show. And then if they want to stay on from like 8 to 8:10, we're going to do a little panel, and she's going to interview some of us directors about Mary Kay and what we love about it. And that's going to be kind of a marketing thing. They don't have to stay on for that, but they also get their name more times in the final drawing if they do stay on. So if that kind of helps you with the guests that you may be inviting on, you know, how long they want to be on there. At most, if they got on at 7:20 and we finished at 8:10, they'd be on there 50 minutes. But that way you can kind of tell your guests. So next week, there won't be a meeting, just the event. But I am going to talk more about product stuff the next time we have training, which will be in 2 weeks. Tammy Craik, so she has this Facebook page, and somehow because she's public or whatever, it started inviting several more of us to the page. She didn't really intend for us to be on there, but I don't know, it was like the AI function of Facebook was inviting us. So I'm in this group with Tammy Craik's people. She sat down with Dr. Gilday on the national trip, and she asked her some specific questions about some products. So I've taken some notes on that, and some of it's not different than what we just heard from Dr. Gilday, but I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of weeks. There's nothing major that y'all need to know, just some of the things she said. So we will do that in 2 weeks. Okay, and then the other thing I want to say before we go into a little bit more training on something else, the STAR deadline is the 15th of June, and you know, the end of the month on June 30th is our end of our seminar year. But, you know, it's interesting because the STAR deadline ends on 6/15. So I just am encouraging you to order strategically. So like if you want to finish STAR, then order before the 15th of this month. If you're like, you know, I want to start on my next year's 4-quarter stars or whatever, then order on the 16th so that you can get started on your new STAR. And then know that either way, it's going to help you for your end of year numbers and our end of year numbers because it's all in June. So I just wanted to remind you guys of that. And today's the 3rd, so that's about how many ever days we have. Now, I didn't do Reco, so let's do Reco because we had good Reco. So let's do a little Reco. Yes, and it does help us reach our 300,000 either way. So whether you're finishing STAR now or you're going to start your next STAR, it does help us finish that. I did get accomplishment sheets from Jody and Dawn. And Jody also filled out her Sisterhood of Success Google Doc. Thank you for doing that. I am struggling a little bit, y'all, with how much I should put on there. I don't want to bombard y'all, but I feel like I do need to do better with that. So I'm figuring that out, but thanks for being patient with me on that. I don't want to like bombard you guys daily, but I feel like I need to give you more specific things. So I'm working on that. But needless to say, Jody had a $383 week. And one new customer, which I need to put on the sheet, and she found you on the internet, right? Yeah, so if you know, that's always great. We don't get those every week, but they're usually really good. And Dawn had a $484 week. Woohoo, you guys had 2 great weeks. Dawn had 2.5 hours of power hours. She had 2 bookings and 4 faces. And, oh gosh, so sorry, y'all. My dogs are talking. And 1 share. She has a consultant that I think is going to re-sign this week. So then we may have, and if she does her order, which I know that's her plan, then we'll have another new consultant on there with active consultant. So very good. Congratulations to both of y'all for having a great week. So I do not want to forget to do that because it's important. So, okay, I'm going to switch gears. It's 6:35, right? Yeah, I'm going to try to do this. So sorry. Just a second. Sorry. Oh my gosh. If they don't stop, I'll go put them outside. It's because Dan's in the garage and he's making noises. And so they're like, there's noises out there. So sorry, y'all. If they keep barking, I'll just go put them outside. Okay. This is the only thing. Dawn tried to call me the other day on the phone, and this happened too. Oh my gosh. Let me put him outside because I don't want him to keep interrupting. So sorry. I didn't want to keep having interruptions. Thanks for letting me pause for a moment. Okay, so I want to talk about a little bit about the values hierarchy and so we did the values exercise and the values hierarchy. So I typed these up for you and sent them to you a while back. So they are also on, if you go to, I believe they're also in our files on Motions Bright Stars. But I want to talk a little bit more about this. You know, last week I talked about revisiting some of the things that we talked about with these. So kind of the exercise is to take that values exercise sheet that lists all of the different things, which he really was pretty encompassing about all of these things that could be most important to you. But if there's something else that you don't see on there, you can add it. But you're supposed to find, highlight or circle 10 of the values that are most important to you. Then after you do that, you take like the top 7 out of those 10 and you try to rank them in what is most important to you on that second page. And if you didn't have a chance to do that, I really highly encourage you take the time to do it. And I did it kind of quickly when I got to hear from him, but I looked at it again. And I think for the most part, you know, some of that can change in our lifetime during different times of our life. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same for me. And this all came from Joel Malm, who wrote this book. And I'm going to read some stuff out of this book to you guys in a minute about consistency. But he talked about our biggest challenge is what we say no to. What can we say no to? Because sometimes we have to say no to good things so that we can have the best things. So the best things are what you decide is most important to you through your hierarchy. And time, money, and energy are kind of our resources that we have. And he thinks time is the greatest resource that we have. So and he says, what you do is what you value, not what you say you value, but what you actually do. And, you know, I can say that through my, probably the last 15 years, I kept saying that my health and wellness and fitness was important, but it was really not until the last 5 years that I really did something about it. I kept saying it was important, but I wasn't really making a true change. And so that, I think, is what he means, is what you do is what you value. So if it really was that valuable to me, then I would have done something about it. So I finally did. It took me a while. But he says through this exercise, when you come up with these 7 things that you find most important to you, that there's going to be tensions within there, or there's going to be things that cause you frustration. And so this has made me think a little bit about Mary Kay, because sometimes things do cause us frustration with our time and all of that related to Mary Kay. But he talked a lot about, you know, coming in really strong and you're like a firework, and then you just fizzle. And to really make lasting change in any of these areas, it needs to be like a laser. So slow, consistent light, a guided light. And he's like, a laser like that can actually cut through steel. And that's when things actually change. So instead of saying, okay, I'm going to fix all these things and I'm going to just go crazy and do all this stuff and there's fireworks, you're just going to fizzle. You need to stay laser focused on what it is that's most important to you. And he says it doesn't even matter how fast you're going as long as you don't stop. And we've learned that, those of us that have been in Mary Kay for a while, we know that. And we know that time is our greatest resource. And he said some things are just not our gifting. And so we've talked before about playing to our strengths. And if we're like between a 1 and a 10, if it's like a 5 for us, just in our regular gifting, sometimes we're probably never going to improve that to a 10. But if there's things that we're kind of maybe an 8, yeah, we could probably improve that to a 10. So that's something you have to consider too when you look at things that are most important to you. But I wanted to talk a little bit about consistency and time and related to what he was talking about. So he said, there's 24 hours in a day, but we should be sleeping 8 hours a day. And I mean, really, for most people, that's good health. I know a few people that can live off less than that, but really, for the most part, we should be getting 8 hours of sleep a day. So that leaves us 16 hours. That leaves us 16 hours in a day. And he said his whole 80-20 rule is that 80% of outcomes or effects come from the 20% of causes. So that means something that you work on laser focused 20% is going to give you 80% of the results that you want. And so he said, if time is our greatest resource, and we're looking at time with the 80-20 rule, then about 3.2 hours a day, that would be 20%, should be spent laser focused on whatever that is we're wanting to change. So whichever one of those areas in our values hierarchy. So let's just say, for example, I was even thinking, because we're talking a little bit about time management with our Mary Kay business too. I'm like, for most of us, working 3 full hours every day on Mary Kay is probably not practical. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, especially if you're working a full-time job. And I thought I probably need to do more of a time study on how much time I actually spend. I might spend 3 hours a day. Some days I do, but not every day. But I thought, what is practical as a consultant maybe that wants to build their business, wants to recruit, how many hours a week is practical? And I think, depending on how much you want to do, it could be 6 hours a week if you're doing income producing activities. There are going to be other things you're going to work on that may not be income producing that is part of your Mary Kay, like even just our meetings. I mean, our meetings are not necessarily, unless we have guests at 7, income producing, but valuable. Doing our paperwork every week is valuable. It's important to do for our business. So I don't know, that's a decision you have to make, how much time, you want to spend. But I think it would be important to kind of look at, and I'm going to try to start, because I weave Mary Kay through my day. I do some Mary Kay, and then I may be doing personal stuff, and then I may be doing some of my volunteer stuff, and then I'm doing Mary Kay again. And so I kind of weave it, so I don't feel like I have like a focused time, but I thought there's a few things we really do need to be laser focused about and set those times on our calendar. And I would say power hours is one of those things. Because if you never do power hours, then you never follow up with customers, you never get new bookings, you never talk to people about the opportunity if you're never doing power hours. So power hours, I feel like, is a focused time. I think when you're actually doing faces, however you're doing that, that's focused time. Maybe when you're delivering, because you are doing customer service and talking to your customers, that's focused time. So I think that is, I was trying to decide, he was giving an example of how he wanted to write books. And so he spent 3 hours a day on that. He also believes that out of those 3 hours, that 20% of that time should be spent in prayer and reading the word, so that that you're getting direction from God on which way you should be going. And so that's about 30 minutes. That's about 30 minutes of the 3 hour time. And I feel like sometimes we're not all sure, and we don't all have clarity about what it is we want from our business, or how our business is going to affect these other things. And so I was kind of looking at, just to give you an example, I was kind of looking at my values hierarchy, and my faith and spirituality is my number one thing for me. A strong relationship with my spouse is number 2, and a strong relationship with my kids and family is number 3. But the reason why I've always done Mary Kay is for my family. And so it's important for me to have the focus that I need for my Mary Kay business, because I started Mary Kay so that I could get out of the corporate world and I could be home with my kids. And then when my kids went to school, it was important to me to do Mary Kay so that I could pick up my kids from school every day. And then as they've gotten older, it's like I'm going to be helping Kyle monthly. Mary Kay is going to be helping Kyle monthly with his budget, and while he's in New York. And so, because he can't work to cover all of his expenses, just some of them. And for me, I'm a real practical person. So I'm fine I've always been fine finding a bill that needs to be paid. And like right now I've been paying off my husband's car because I take the cash instead of the car. And so I've been double paying on his car. So it will be paid off in July before Kyle goes to school in the fall. And so that floats my boat. But for some people, that's not very exciting. They're like, I don't just want to make a car payment. I don't just, so you have to decide for you what is important to you and what would motivate you to work Mary Kay. And that made me think a little bit of how he talks about it with consistency in this book. The last chapter is on consistency. And this kind of ties it all together, because he says, if you consistently plant the right seeds, you will eventually see a harvest. I think what happens is sometimes we stop planting seeds. We just stop. So if you don't stop, then you will see the harvest. And God works through the processes. So we can work hard, pray hard, sleep hard, knowing that God is working his processes behind the scenes at all times, even when we can't see it. Because sometimes that's our issue. Like you're like, well, I want to give up because I can't see it. You can be certain that if you plant a seed, tend to it, and wait long enough, you're going to see a harvest. And he said, discipline is the ability to forego instant gratification for a bigger payoff at the end. And I feel like that happens to people too when they get in Mary Kay. They want an instant gratification. And Mary Kay to me is more of a marathon and not a sprint if you want to build a business, because you have to build relationships over time and keep planting those seeds. He said, anyone can start strong, but finishing strong is a whole other ballgame. The ability to consistently focus on priorities, whatever your priorities are, over the long haul is what sets apart those who get overwhelmed and give up from those who go far. And I think that's kind of where we are even in our business. And then he said, there are two things I found that can quickly hijack our consistency. Number one, not knowing your why. And number two, comparing yourself to others. So I believe that. And I believe that with anything you do, whether it's becoming healthier, learning a new skill, doing Mary Kay. And since Mary Kay is more of a marathon and not a sprint, it is really important you know your why. And for some people, that is tied to money. And for some people, it's not. So just know it's important to know your why, and it's important not to compare yourself to others. Consistency becomes a lot easier when your why is clear. When you've filtered what you're doing right now through your values hierarchy, valuing what God values, it's much easier to stay disciplined when life gets hard. So I think that's why it's really important to know what you personally value and what's most important to you and where you're spending your time. And then you can be more disciplined in whatever you're doing, whether, it's getting healthier or doing Mary Kay. And it says we also have our own unique burden to bear on the way. Comparing our journey to others will only lead to frustration and exhaustion. So sometimes it's hard when we have a stage of Mary Kay or we have a newsletter and we have rankings and all that stuff to not compare yourself to others. The other thing I wanted to share with y'all is whenever he talked about spending that 20% on prayer, it made me think about a time that I had and we're going to wrap up here, but it made me think about a time we had a training from Nathan Baxter. And I know it was when we were still doing, it it was when we were still going to Dallas for our retreats. It was before we were going to Oklahoma City. So that's how many years ago it was. And he talked specifically about things that you could pray for your business. And I wrote those down because I thought that those were good. So I did want to share those with you because he gave us 6 things. I can type them up if you guys want me to. But he said to ask God to give you a clear mind. That's number 1, ask God to give you a clear mind. Number 2 is to ask God for strength for your journey and courage to face fears. Strength for your journey and courage to face fears. And he said to pray that God would give you customers, but also pray for those customers you already have. What are things that you can pray for them? And then specifically ask God to give you customers. I mean, I don't know that we always do that. Sometimes we do. But I always believe in praying in his will. You know, like whatever his will is for my business and who's supposed to be my customer, you know, I just pray that in his will, whatever it is. And then he said to ask God for ideas and ask him for profits. So I thought that was interesting. He's not saying ask God for sales or revenue. He asked God for profits. And I think that's important because there's a difference between revenue and profits. And then the last thing is for you to ask God to just show you what your assignment is. And I always kept that because I thought that was really good that Dr. Nathan Baxter said. So I thought that might be a guideline for you as you pray specifically for your business. And then, you know, if you're not really sure on this hierarchy, definitely spend some time figuring that out. And then look at where your tensions are, and especially in your top 3 or 4. I mean, is there tension or frustration there that needs to be fixed? You know, when I look at mine, because my family is so important to me, but Mary Kay definitely feeds into that because, you know, my husband wants to retire too in 10 years. And now that I've built this business, I'm not going to retire, I don't think, in 10 years. We'll just see what God says. But then that will continue to help us have money. And he said he would help me. But I like the fact that he feels like we have something else to rely on and that it's not just him. And it gives him less stress to know that I can help Kyle and that money doesn't have to come out of his retirement to help Kyle finish his master's. So that's important to me. And then a couple of the other things I have in my hierarchy are excellence and quality, which I feel like I can do that in Mary Kay. Like that's a place where I can play in excellence and quality and learning how to do better things. And I have research and learning because I love to learn things. And you guys know that I don't like technical stuff, but if it wasn't for Mary Kay, I wouldn't be technical at all. Like it's totally pushed me to learn new things in the technical realm. And so I'm grateful for that, even though it's not the easiest thing for me. And then my last thing was happiness and enjoying the moment. And a lot of my Mary Kay business brings me so much happiness. Like my customers are my friends, you know, and like you guys are who I would go to. I like our Mary Kay group. I mean, this is who we rely on to pray for us. This is who we go to when we need help. I mean, it's just great to have that kind of environment. And there are other places you can get that, but I have found it's really nice. Like when Dawn mentioned to me that Mary Benson, one of our consultants in our unit, is going to live she only lives 25 minutes away from where Kyle's going to live. I was like, oh, well, that's so cool. Because if Kyle ever needed something, I know Mary's a mom too, and she's in my unit. And if I needed to call her, I could call her, you know? And so that's exciting. And so, and that's just someone else in our Mary Kay world. So that was a lot of like head stuff, but we had talked about this before and I wanted to revisit it to make sure that you guys really had time to like delve into it. And then I would take this too, this values hierarchy, figuring out what's most important to you, and then putting that into what we learned about the brain drain sheets that we got from Callie. You know, like taking, okay, if I'm going to have focus laser time on certain things that I'm going to do with my values, where do I put that in my week? And what does that look like? And I've really been trying to use her sheets because there's just so many little tasks, that need to be done, and they're all swirling in my head if I don't have it on paper. And so I'm definitely way more disciplined, and also get way more done by, having everything written down. Oh, Jody, yes, I can resend you the email with those sheets in them. Is that what you're talking about? The values? Okay. Yeah. So we talked about this at one meeting, but I had talked about other things at the same time. And so I really wanted to revisit this. And then I was finishing up his book, and that whole section on consistency really filtered into all this. And so I thought that was helpful. So I know I kept you late, but does anyone have any thoughts or questions or anything?
Well, since I wasn't present for the first meeting, I was glad that this came up again. And I enjoyed it so much. I took the most notes I've taken in a whole long time.
Oh, good.
So, thank you.
Yay. Well, good. Yeah. And I can resend it to anybody that wants those sheets again. Because I think it's hard to sit down and think through this, but it's helpful. It's helpful. And then you can kind of think about how your Mary Kay fits into this and how it works. So any other thoughts? I don't want to keep you all too long.
Not resend it to me because I might or might not have it. I don't know.
Okay, I can resend it. I sent it last week, I think, but I can resend it when I'm sending it to Jody, so it's not a problem.
All right.
Not a problem at all. I can resend it. Okay. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts? Does everybody feel good about next Tuesday and inviting people and how that's going to work?
Mm-hmm.
I will send you guys, I'll probably post it in the group, and then if I know you have guests, I will text it to you. But you, at the end of the event next week, you'll fill out the Google Doc for your customers so that you can get their names in the drawing for all the different things. Because she will pick, like, if they purchased, if they booked, if they were on the last 10 minutes, all that kind of stuff. You're going to tell her that, because Margaret will do the drawings after, and then that's how she'll know that they were your customers and how they'll get their stuff. So I will make sure you guys have that Google Doc ahead of time. Okay. Anything else?
We're not registering anybody again this year, right?
We're not registering. You don't have to register. She will truly go by you sending in that Google Doc with that information. And that's how she does kind of go through there and look at who comments, because she gives some prizes throughout. So I will tell you this, if you can tell your customer that if they will comment in there and put that you invited them, it really helps her, because these are all different units. So Margaret doesn't know who that person is. And if you comment on there, make sure you say, I'm a consultant, because there's been, Margaret doesn't know, she knows you guys, but in general, she doesn't always know who consultants are. So if you choose to comment in there, say consultant from St. Louis or consultant from Amarillo. So she's like, oh yeah, that's a consultant, because she's trying to give the prizes to customers. But I do think they're going to give a prize to the consultant who ends up getting the most customers. Like whenever you fill out your Google Doc, if you had 5 customers or 7 customers and you were the consultant with the most, you may win a prize. So does that help kind of?
Yep.
Okay. If any other questions come up about it before next Tuesday, just let me know and I'll try to answer those. So, okay. And I think we are going to try to put a closing sheet together for that. So I will post that when I have it. So you guys will have that, a closing sheet that you can send, you can text your guests if you need to. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for being on and listening to all the stuff. And for being number 11, most improved. I'll have to find out how we do that, but I knew we had a good month. I mean, y'all did great. It was a great month. So that's the second highest month I've ever had as a director. So May was really good. So good job. All right. Y'all have a great evening. Okay. See you later.